Hi, everyone. Mark Cabaniss here. And now I'm here with you for a brand new series here at Jubilante Music Group on our YouTube channel called Tuned In Talks. And so we're happy to have you here. And today we're happy to have two gentlemen who are dear friends of mine, whom we are tuning into today. And that is Dale Mathews, who's a music publisher and a songwriter and a producer and sometimes choir director too over the years. And one of the best things about Dale is a big UT football fan. That's UT Knoxville. Thank you very much. So and then we've got the wonderful Alec Harris, who is president and CEO of GIA Publications and One License. So welcome, Dale and Alec.
Good to be here. Welcome to you and Alec both.
Thank you,
Great
Dale.
to see you both, and happy to be a part of this.
Thank you, Alec. Listen, you guys, all of you viewers here, again, these are dear friends that we go back decades, and I'm honored to have both of them taking times out of their schedules today to be with us for this Tuned In Talks. And guys, as you know, what we're going to talk about today is some encouragement and opinions of the world we're living in currently and have found ourselves in for almost a year now with COVID-19. And, you know, to the viewers, I say, of course, Dale and Alec and I are not here to give any official guidance or health guidelines on COVID. Those are readily available from your doctor and you know, online for that matter. But what we are here to do today is to offer our opinions and encouragement and some ideas for the time ahead. And, you know, we're going to do a multi-part series. We're going to talk to some church music directors on another segment and some composers of church music on another segment. But today's segment focuses on industry professionals with Alec and Dale. And so their unique perspective on where things are and what we can do together to move forward. So, so Alec and Dale, I have the three questions for you. And I'll start out with, first of all, from a practical standpoint, what ideas that you might have heard being practiced right now as our viewers are in the thick of it, getting ready for Easter and all those kind of things. I think we all can agree that with vaccines being rolled out now, it's most likely that a lot of churches will still be in the distanced or virtual or streaming mode up until Easter and beyond. We'll talk later about what we think beyond might look like. But what ideas do you guys have that you know of and have heard from your customers and colleagues on what churches can do right now to make things happen for this Easter? Dale, let's start with you.
Good question. Lots of things. I think we were talking a little bit before we went on air just about how varied this is for everybody, depending on where you are, what the situation is in your state or city, and all those kinds of things. And it's been that way really since the beginning of this COVID outbreak. I remember with our sales force at Word talking to folks all the time at churches all the way through COVID. We were hearing a little bit of everything. Folks who were saying, we're going to be singing no matter what, and they started their choir early last summer, to folks who, as recently as, you know, in the last month or so, saying, well, we're not sure, it may be a year before we sing again, you know, so there's all of that in between. One friend of mine is at a church in Kansas City area, not right in Kansas City, but in that area. And they actually started their choir back pretty early last summer. And the way they did it, I thought was innovative and kind of clever. And at the same time, they were looking out for the safety of everyone, where they have a sanctuary with a staircase that goes up each side of the sanctuary, going up into a balcony. And so the way they started back was social distancing everyone, but with choir members socially distanced going up that staircase on each side of the sanctuary and with a few voices up on the platform. So you've got a little bit of that kind of three-way sound going on, a little stereo effect, which I would imagine, I haven't been to his church to hear that, but I would imagine it can be pretty interesting to hear something like that. And then another good friend of mine out in California, they do a really big extravaganza every Christmas. You know, they do the long show with some secular tunes and then the Christian tunes all mixed in together, and a lot of things happening in there. They didn't want to not do that this year, but out in California, especially, things were shut down pretty tightly. So my friend happens to be pretty technologically advanced. So this is something that maybe isn't for everybody because it requires a bit of knowledge that I certainly don't have. But he spent a lot of time with his choir, having each one of them sing their parts into a video, whether it was on their phone, their computer, whatever, for their entire program. This was about an hour and a half, 2-hour program. And he went and put it into a video form with each person showing. And they put on their entire Christmas performance that way with video. They did it in a city park. So folks were out in the park, outdoors where it's safe, socially distanced, and then a big, huge screen in the background. And that's where they saw the choir. And it was quite effective. And again, not everybody is going to have the wherewithal to do that. But you've got a lot of different things. I would just encourage people to be creative and think outside the box. It's important that we get back to singing.
Dale, that is so well said, beautifully. Alec, your thoughts, and then you might even bring in One License and what's happening there with as you're the owner and president of that wonderful organization.
Right. So as Dale said, be creative. There's so much variety of what's possible now. We have more information about what the science tells us about what's safe and what's not safe. And we're getting more information day by day. So talk to your pastor, learn about what's happening in your state. And really, choir is community, and definitely sing or find other ways to stay together. If you can do things outside, do them outside. If you can do things socially distanced, now there's some masks even that you can buy that will allow you to sing and sing well with enough breath and enough support to sound good. And we've actually amazingly been able to do some recordings even with people using these masks, and they've turned out great. So definitely know and be aware of your state, but don't give up, stay at this. And as the vaccine gets rolled out, as the weather starts to improve, as we get towards spring, as we start thinking about Easter, stay on it. Think about what's practical given, maybe doing rehearsals over Zoom or that sort of thing. What can you do? What works? And keep that community going and keep that community present. That's more important really than just about anything else. And then think about what works in your situation. Certainly there's many churches are streaming their services, and they're doing both streaming and some sort of live hybrid. And I think that we're finding that that's not going to change, that's really going to be how it is going forward, even post-pandemic. So take advantage of that technology, the different licenses with One License that will allow you to stream, or CCLI also has a license to stream services that contain copyrighted music, and think what's practical and what works for your particular situation, even if it's pared down. Or I've also seen some amazing virtual choir performances that sound great and are inspiring to community. So be creative, take the time, continue to take a deep breath, learn, connect, and talk to your pastor and others to make the best of this moment that we're in.
Beautifully said, Alec. Thank you very much. Some great ideas, great practical ideas there from you and Dale. And the other thing I love that you both said is about being creative and being forward thinking and thinking outside of the box. I mean, if we have to do that now and as we move forward. There's no question about that. And then, so speaking of moving forward, my second question for today is, so what do we think? We can't foretell the future, of course, but what do we think might this year look like, and how can we plan for that? And if I may, as you guys think about that for just a moment, I'll give a shameless plug for a new publication that Jubilate Music Group has just put out called Restore Our Song by Lee and Susan Dengler. And it's in anticipation of that time, whenever it will be, because that's kind of where we're putting our money where our mouth is, if you will, saying not only do we want to encourage churches to get ready to anticipate and kind of gin up, if you will, excitement among your choir members, but to plan for it with concrete things. Again, you don't have to put a date on it yet. I don't think none of us can, but we can believe and hope and plan for that time when we will be back together singing again, side by side, and making beautiful music. And so Alec, let me start with you this time. What are your thoughts on later this year? What might happen?
Well, I think it's, you know, you know, it would be dishonest to say that the music publishing world hasn't been impacted, just like churches in this moment. And all of us are really doing everything we can to get ready for the fall. And for church musicians as well, this is the time to relax, to learn repertoire, to plan the year, so that when you can come back and be all together, that you can be fully present with your choir and focus on them and on skill building and community building and those sorts of things. And I do think that if things are continuing on this path, we'll be ready to go. We hope full steam ahead come the fall. And we're gearing up at GIA and One License to be ready for that. And we're continuing to publish our new releases on a good track. And I think that, I guess, again, I would say this is a great time for church choir directors to get ready, to begin planning, to sort through all of the repertoire that's being published, to think about what their needs are and how to recruit more people into the choir. Because I think honestly, because folks haven't been able to be together as much, they're wanting that, they're craving that. So this is a huge opportunity to identify folks, to invite them into the choir and into your programs, and encourage that community building so that, again, we can be all ready when things are back to what they think will be normal in the fall.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned recruiting, Alec, because one of this, back to our little Restore Our Song publication, it talks a lot about recruiting. How can we turn a negative into a positive, you know, lemons into lemonade, all those things. But yes, I mean, let's use this as a moment, a moment as a springboard and to make things bigger and better than they were before. You know, and I've always said that I think when we have something that we take for granted, like gathering together in a public place to sing, how could we have ever taken that for granted? Well, we took it for granted because it was like life, it was like breathing. You know, we did that as a part of life, and then that's taken away. So when something is taken away from us, I think unexpectedly, I feel that when we are given it back again, I would hope, I know I personally will embrace it all the more joyously and experience it all the fuller. And definitely for those who might not have done it before, now is the time to do it. Dale, your ideas on the outlook for this year?
I think that for me, the key words would be anticipate. I think one thing that we can't afford to do is to, in spite of COVID, and we have to be aware of the risk there and what it takes to be safe in this environment. So nothing that I say or that we say today is meant to imply, ignore all that, just go ahead and sing and do what you need to do. Please be safe with it and do the right thing. At the same time, I don't think we can sit back and shut it down and not be doing anything in the meantime. If tomorrow, this is obviously an if, it's not going to happen, but if tomorrow we all woke up and COVID was gone, you wouldn't be able to get your choir going immediately. It would take some time because everybody's been spread and scattered for months now. Go ahead and anticipate that you're going to be able to start back and that you want to get things going again. And you have to balance all of that because I would imagine each of us in our own circle of friends, our own family, our own churches, you have all extremes of people who are more open in their approach to COVID and those who are extremely, extremely careful and afraid of it, and everything in between. And you're going to have that in your choirs. And so don't try and force people to do things they're not comfortable with. But I do believe that we need to be working towards that day where we all can be singing again with our choirs and anticipate that and do whatever you can right now to stage that so that you're ready to go. And again, I know a lot of people who have had their choirs back in some form for several months already, being safe with it. Maybe they have a choir of 100 and they're only singing 30 right now so that they can socially distance, that kind of thing. And then they rotate people in and out so that everybody gets a chance. Do whatever it takes, but don't just sit back and say, well, we'll wait till we know it's safe to get started. Go ahead and do the things that you can now to get started. This is old news in my view, but a lot of people probably still aren't taking advantage of being able to do virtual rehearsals. A lot of folks have been doing that all through last year. Didn't want to get their folks together in the church to sing, but they were doing virtual rehearsals using Zoom and other things. Very easy to do, very effective. People, we heard a lot of folks that said, we're going to do a Christmas musical no matter what, but we're going to do it right. We're going to socially distance. We're going to have virtual rehearsals. Again, instead of singing 100, we're going to sing with 30, those kinds of things. I think that deep down in all of this, deep down, we have this desire and need to sing. We have that voice. And in a spiritual context, whether you actually have a singing voice or not, we all have that song that we've been given. And you can't help but want to sing that song. And we can't be silenced for very long. I think that is going to drive people to safely find ways to get their choir back going again as quickly as possible. The longer this goes on, the more we miss it. And the more we have a need to do it for ourselves as well as for the ministry that we can provide to our churches. I think we're going to see more and more of that take place as the months go along. Again, you both have mentioned the vaccine is starting to get out there more and more now. We're learning more and more about it. So I think people are going to start getting to a place where they can this year start to open it back up again safely and carefully. But I would encourage you not to wait and just sit back and do nothing during this time.
Right. I mean, can I just add to that?
Yes.
One thing I've heard anecdotally from folks is that because of virtual rehearsing that's been happening, that actually the skills of the individual singers has been increasing because they have no choice but to hear themselves. You know, when you're together, you don't always hear yourself. And so now you're identifying yourself and you're more aware of what's happening with your own musicianship. And so it's an opportunity to build and encourage folks to build their own skills by taking part in a virtual rehearsal or a virtual situation. And so definitely use this moment to take advantage of all that. And then, of course, I'm sure many churches are already doing this and just can't overemphasize the importance of having virtual gatherings, virtual services, connecting virtually through music with your community that we are seeing that, and we're hearing that folks see the value of it even post-pandemic, and to be prepared to think about what virtually your community is going to want to do come the fall. What we're hearing is a lot of folks are still seeing a valuable, that it provides value to the community to continue to have some sort of a virtual presence out there, and think about what that's going to look like as well for you going forward, and how you want to project yourselves to the broader community, even come the fall post-pandemic.
Wow, that's great stuff, Alec. Thank you so much, and you too, Dale. And I'm just sitting here thinking, just drinking in what you guys are saying, and so pleased that there's so much encouragement here. And so it almost makes my final question for us before we wrap up here in a few minutes redundant, but I'll still say it. Just any final words of encouragement. We've had lots of nuts and bolts and lots of encouraging things that we've said here today, but Dale, just in closing, what are your final words to our viewers about moving forward?
Well, I just want to encourage everybody. We are all in this because it's a calling for us, and it's something that we love, whether it's on the publishing side of creating these products and pieces of music for choirs to be able to sing and perform, or whether you're in the choir loft or whether you're directing the choir. It's a ministry for us. It's something that we feel is very important to the furtherance of God's kingdom. And it's something that we just have instilled in us this, as I said before, this desire and this need to give voice to that. And so I just want to encourage you to find ways to make that happen for your church and for your people. I often think about the days in the late 90s, early 2000s, when the praise and worship movement in the contemporary churches especially was becoming so strong, and churches were making the decision to throw their choir out and just go to the praise team. And we heard a lot of things back and forth about that over the years. But in my view, I love the praise and worship movement, have been involved in it from the beginning. But I also think a lot of churches made the mistake of throwing the baby out with the bathwater during that time. Praise teams and choirs are not mutually exclusive. You can have both. There's a place for both, and often they work really, really well together. And often the choir can be just a very large praise team in and of itself. You don't have to have the two separate groups. But I say all that just to say that whatever your style of worship is in your church, it's important for us to be the leaders there. And that I think that means for us not only leading the way and making sure that we're helping our people do it safely, but it's leading the way and helping them get over whatever fear they might have of wanting to get back into it. The choir is such a place of community in our church. A lot of those churches that I mentioned earlier that threw the baby out with the bathwater earlier on have realized that, oh, maybe we shouldn't have done that, and they brought their choirs back, and now they're doing it with both. There are those churches that started during that era that said, well, we're a contemporary praise church, we'll never have a choir. And as that church has grown and they are starting to look for ministries and opportunities for their people to get involved in the church, they've realized, there's something to this choir thing. You know, there's a community there that brings people together in a really special way. And there is nothing like the power and dynamic and emotion that can be felt if you're sitting in the pew and a wonderful, beautiful choir is up on that platform singing their hearts out in praise to the Lord. There's something that you can't match any other way with that. And I encourage our folks to find ways to get back to that. It's important for you. It's important for your choir members. It's important for your church. It's important for your community. Let's get back to it.
Amen. Amen. And, you know, what I would add to that is, you know, it is who we are as human beings. It's how we experience the divine. This is so important. It is going to come back. I know it will. And in the meantime, for you as a church musician, take this time also for self-care. This is a stressful time for all of us with our families, with distance learning, it's kids in schools. Definitely use this moment to care for yourself, and that's important. Connect with your colleagues. It's so wonderful for me to have this opportunity to speak with Dale Mathews and Mark Cabaniss, my colleagues and friends, learn from one another, get support from one another, hear what's working and what isn't working, that we are in this all together as a broader community, and we know we are going to be strong moving forward. And we're here for you. We're here to support you in every way that we can as publishers. And we just look forward to working with you and being with you in every way that is helpful for you in your situation.
Beautiful, Alec, and beautiful, Dale. Thank you both so very much. I mean, when I was thinking about whom should I invite to this very first Tuned In Talks, I mean, you guys, top of the list, because, you're dear, wonderful friends and wonderful colleagues. And Dale's known me since I was 12. But
wow,
practically, it feels that way. And so when Alec's known me since I was 16. But
you're only 32 now.
That's right. Oh, God bless you. But you guys, thank you so much. This has been not only inspirational, but it's informative, but it's been a lot of fun. And in the light of, I know it's a very serious topic, and yet we can rejoice that God has given us life on this day, and we pray for continued health and certainly that of our viewers as well. But you guys, thank you again so very much for your time and your talents and your great input and wisdom on this Tuned In Talks. And we'll looking to be in touch as always. And thank you again.
Our pleasure.
Thank you, Mark. Good to see both of you.
Take care. You too, guys. And listen to our viewers here now. Thanks for tuning in to this Tuned In Talks with Alec Harris and Dale Mathews here on Jubilate Music Group. Blessings to you.